Welcome to the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. I'm your host, Carly Johnston. You can catch us on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Detroit Tigers or Red Wings Facebook, YouTube, or websites. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on live notifications so you don't miss a single second. Shortly, we will be joined by Ken Cal and have interviews with 2008 Stanley Cup champion Dallas Drake, Tigers broadcaster Matt Shepard, Max Boltman of The Athletic, Hockey Hall of Famer Larry Murphy, and more. But before we get into all of that, of course, let me bring in my co-host and dear friend, Mr. Art Ragnar. How's it going, Art?
I am doing well, Carly. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Are you excited to get into things?
I am very, very excited. We're just a day away from the official start of the NHL season, and Red Wings start in 2 days, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been a really good and intense training camp, a lot of competition, high compete level. So I would say, even though they probably wanted more time, the Red Wings did the most with the time that they had, and I'm just looking forward to it. I really think that they've got to be pretty happy where they're at as a club right now. I know they have a few guys unfit to practice, and we'll find out what their situation is in the coming days. But overall, it's been a great couple of weeks here.
Yes, and before you dive too far into that, because that is the first topic of our big three, we're obviously missing a big part of our show today. Daniela Bruce is out. Unfortunately, she lost her nana, we should say, yesterday. So sending her and her family very, very well wishes. We're so sorry for her loss. But pivoting now to the big three, we have a lot to cover here, Art. You just kind of dipped your toes into the first topic here, but we know the Red Wings will be finalizing their 23-man roster today. We saw them waive a few players yesterday, 10 to be exact. Unfortunately, my favorite, I was really, really rooting for him to make the team. Svechnikov was on that list. Art, what can we expect today? Any curveballs you think, or are you pretty sure you know what this roster is going to look like?
I think we actually know. I guess the big question would be the three forwards that are unfit to practice. Darren Helm, who's been out since New Year's Day, Bobby Ryan, and of course Adam Ernie. So I don't know what the protocol will be. We don't know what's wrong with them. We won't know until the season actually begins, and then I guess the rules kind of change. But I think that what's pretty interesting when you look at the final roster at this point, I don't think that there's any surprises. Gus Lindstrom, if he makes that final 23-man roster, I mean, he was a guy that obviously impressed last year. You knew all the acquisitions on defense were going to make it. I think the defense is better with, Danny DeKeyser, if he can stay healthy, and he looks pretty good. But with all that said, I do think that, Michael Rasmussen, because of his power play skills, I'm not really, he might be taxi squad, but he might be on the team. So I think overall, it just seems like to me that the thing to remember about waivers, and I really wanted to say this, is that Steve said, and then Jeff Blashill reiterated it yesterday, that doesn't mean that you haven't made the team. You might not make the team coming out of January 14th, shall we say. But what you're going to do is that you're going to you could be on the team somewhere else down the line. It's still an open competition. It's not final. It's not all etched in stone. So, I mean, I like it. The top line looks like Robbie Fabre is going to be center. Like I said, Larkin, Mantha, and Bertuzzi, you can't worry about them. So we'll see. So Svechnikov was a little bit of a surprise. So, we have to look, and, I know that the waiver wire, it's going hot and heavy right now. If you're going to claim somebody, I think you have to do it by noontime today, and we'll see exactly where everybody stands. But, Svech was a little bit of a surprise, but if he clears, he could be on the taxi squad, could go down to Grand Rapids. He gets healthy. He could be a Red Wing very, very soon.
I am getting word from who you would call boss man, Andrew Kristoff. He is our social media manager. He just let us know, per Elliot Friedman, that all Red Wings cleared waivers. So that hit right there. Yeah.
That's great. That's great news. So Svechnikov is still part of it. He's a number one draft choice, and Bubble Boss Man, always on top of things. I was seeing things pop up on the screen, but I didn't want to. It kind of ruined my train of thought because I'm so brilliant. I have so much to say. No, but but
I got
that
you,
is good
Mark.
to say. Thank you for
I
covering me.
know, I
That,
feel like this the whole time. I kept
yeah,
getting
actually, that's cool. That's the bubble boss man. Thank you, but that's good. I'm glad to see that. Most of those guys will be slated to be part of the Grand Rapids Griffins, obviously. But Svechnikov's still a Red Wing. I'm glad to see that. I think we all root for him. He's such a great guy, and and he's dealt with so many injuries. He really has had a lot of bad luck.
Terrible. So, yeah, I mean, again, Svechnikov, we know he is one of my favorites, both on and off the ice. Cool to see that he cleared waivers and all those other guys. But let's pivot to the MLB for our second topic of the big three. The Tigers signed former Oakland Athletics outfielder Robbie Grossman on a 2-year, $10 million contract. The deal is the largest, get this, Art, by a free agent outfielder so far this offseason. That's pretty cool that the Tigers got that. But Grossman is a switch hitting veteran that could really add to this team, I think. Art, how do you feel about this signing?
Well, you look at it and you look at his numbers, and if you're looking for a guy who hits for average, and I know we're going to talk to Matt Shepard about this later in the show, but he's a very good, he doesn't strike out much and he gets a lot of walks. He's a switch hitter. I think he's one of these veteran presence. He's a guy that's been quit on by a couple of organizations and has made himself into a ball player. So I'm interested by this signing, and I think, it's been really kind of a slow market right now, as we know, for Major League Baseball. And, another thing that I read that the Commissioner of Baseball, Rob Manfred, said that it looks like he wants everything to start on time and play a 162-game schedule. So that's probably something we're going to have to watch out for, too. But I like Grossman. They needed a corner outfielder. He's a switch hitter. He fits the bill, good veteran leadership. I kind of look at where Robbie Grossman is, and I hope to have him here on the WOW Show in the next couple of weeks or so, and that looks pretty good from what I've been told. But, he's probably at a stage in his career where he's going to be a really good mentor for the young Tiger outfielders like a Riley Green and Des Cameron and those guys.
Covered Tigers, hasn't it?
It's been a while. I love you guys, so I haven't forgotten about you. Just my mind has. No, but with all that said, I think that he'll have a good presence, and I think that he's at an age where, like I said, he's had organizations kind of waive him and give up on him, but he's really worked hard in the batting cage. He's gotten to be a much better hitter, and I think he's at a stage now where he can teach these fellas how to be a good pro and show that you can overcome every obstacle, because he's had a few obstacles. So I find it interesting to see exactly what influence he'll have on the Tigers. And he knows Nico Goodrum, that from the Twins organization, so he knows some of the fellas already. So I think that it's a good, solid signing. Hopefully he'll be able to hit, bring that average up a little bit, but he doesn't strike out much, as I said, and he walks. So we'll wait and see. But really, the Tigers, they're pretty honest. They're not going to be going for, the multi-zillion-dollar player. It looks like no one in baseball is right now. It's really been slow. But Grossman, good pickup.
I like it too. And he put out a cool statement about how he's traveled to Detroit multiple times as a visiting player, and now being part of this team and this city he's really excited for, because he said the passion behind this team by the fans is just incredible to see. So great addition, I believe, to Detroit Tigers, and we'll see what he can do with the team this upcoming season. And then for our third and final topic, back to hockey, we have I know you're going to love this one. This is going to be your favorite topic, because you were talking about it well before we were even here. But we're going to talk about how the USA won the World Juniors Championship. What a cool moment. The video of the guys throwing their gloves up in the air gave me chills, and it's just that much sweeter that it was against Team Canada, huh, Art?
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, they've played more than 4 gold medal games, but the last 4 that they've played against each other, the USA has beaten Team Canada. Now, I just want to say this about Team Canada, is that those kids have more pressure on them than anybody. They really, really do. I mean, it's incredible, the pressure that they have on them. They were playing on their home soil. I would equate it to if the if the national basketball team of the United States really had competition on the world stage, and then because that's what Canada does have. Everyone's kind of has caught up to them or catching up to them. So there's a lot of pressure. Even though they were deep and they have all these great players, the line is kind of thin. And I think that development program, and I know Jeff Blashill says it's just the evolution of USA Hockey, but that development program that began in Ann Arbor and is now in Plymouth, I think that has a profound effect on the development of American hockey and making it a national sport, not a regional sport. And the result was 2-0. Now, another thing, too, this was the end of that class from 2 years ago where I think 11 Americans from the development program were drafted in the first round of the NHL draft. Most of them forward heavy, like Zegras and Cole Caulfield and Cam York, who was on the blue line. So this was their last shot at the World Juniors, and they got upset 2 years ago by Finland, who seems to be their nemesis in this tournament. And then they came out and they put it together, and they lost their first game to Team Russia 5-3, and then after that they were undefeated. And I tip my cap to them, even though the Canadians always have a lot of pressure on them, but it was well deserved. The USA are champions, and they deserve that gold medal. I think it's great. I just wish more people in the United States were probably a little bit more aware of it, because it's quite a feat when you have the best junior team in the world, at least in that tournament. That's pretty good, because for a long, long time, Carly, USA Hockey was kind of down. But, it's right up there with the big boys now. They can compete with anybody, and they proved it at the World Junior Championship in the bubble in Edmonton.
You love to see it. One guy who was also in the bubble in Edmonton, who was helping out with USA Hockey, our assistant general manager of the Red Wings, Ryan Martin. So we want to give him a big congratulations as well. I know if he could be, he would have been out on the ice throwing up his gloves as well. But you got to look at the people behind the scenes who are really making this amazing thing happen as well.
Now, coaches get medals too. Now, I know he was a volunteer assistant, but Ryan's been involved with USA Hockey for a number of years. I mean, so, I hope he gets a gold medal. If he doesn't, I know Ryan, and I'm speaking on behalf of Carly. I know that she's going to petition USA Hockey to make sure you get a gold medal too, if you did not get one.
Absolutely. We'll drop a petition if he didn't, but I'm sure he will. But thank you. That is it for the Big Three, and thank you to Chevy for sponsoring it. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. And now it is time for the mailbag, presented by Little Caesars, and this is where we will bring in our friend, the People's Announcer, Ken Kell. Ken, how's it going? Oh, so quiet. I've never heard Ken this quiet. We're going to give him a second to refresh, but while he's
pretty animated, though.
Well, that's for sure, but
he has a lot to say.
All right, well, while we're still on the World Junior Championships and we're waiting for Ken to get back, all right, we'll start with the question for you because it does have to do with the World Juniors Championship. Kevin from Three Oaks asks, USA beat Canada for the gold, like we were just talking about. Should we be optimistic about the USA winning hockey gold in the Olympics next year?
Well, I would like to be optimistic, Carly. I really, really would. But it still seems that the Olympics is the bane of the existence for Team USA. For whatever reason, when the Olympics hit, and I know that they played, they won the silver against Team Canada in Salt Lake City, and, they've won some medals, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of it depends on who ends up going, which players opt out. You've got to play for injuries. If guys are so focused on the season that they don't want to, go for 3 weeks, but to what is it? It's not. Is the Winter Olympics in China again, or is it Japan? I think it's in Asia someplace. I should probably know that. But with that said, I think it's a good sign. I think there's a lot of young, good forwards and American talent coming up. Connor Hellebuck's one of the best goaltenders. He's from the state of Michigan. So let's put it this way. The ingredients are there for the United States to do really, really well and to be, compete for a medal. They're going to be there year in and year out. Weird things seem to happen to them in the Olympics, but I'm going to say yes. I am going to say that don't bet the farm on it. Not like I bet the farm on, I bet my house on Team Red in game 1 of the scrimmage. Don't go that far, but I would definitely say without question that Team USA has a legitimate shot at winning the gold medal in the Olympics.
Love it. Love it, Ken. I'm sure you'd agree. But now that you're back, we're going to start with the first question that I was going to hit you with. Can we hear you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes, love it. I was waiting to hear that voice. All right, Ken. Ryan from Essex, Ontario said, Wings didn't play a lot of overtime last season, but scored a ton in the 3-on-3 during the scrimmages. Should we be excited about seeing them light the lamp in OT?
Well, first and foremost, Carly and Art, I really believe that most teams are like 500 when it comes to overtime or in shootouts, and it just amazes me how equal everything is. It's rare that some teams go a perfect 5-0 or 5-1, but I think that the Red Wings have a lot of offensive flair and firepower now since they picked up guys like Nemesnikov in the offseason, Bobby Ryan when he's healthy, and they've got the top line with Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Mantha. So they've got some firepower up front. And the key, I think, in 3-on-3 overtime is not only playing in the offensive zone, but making sure you're pretty sound defensively too when the other team is on the attack in your zone too. But I really believe that, things can't get any worse for Detroit. Last year was just a bad year, and, their numbers in all departments were very low. So I see an upside. I see that we should be excited about 3-on-3 overtime. I believe the Red Wings will be in a lot of close games this year. They've improved their roster. So that'll keep them in a lot of games. And as for overtime, you cross your fingers a little bit. Hopefully you get that extra point, and the offense will be good in 3-on-3 overtime play.
Yes, absolutely. I know we did see the Red Wings in a lot of overtime situations the past couple seasons. All right, we were supposed to have a back-to-back question for you, but I'm going to ask both of you this question. We'll start with you, Art, and then go to you, Ken. Phil from Brighton asks, we're seeing some experimenting with the power play units during camp. Not quite sure all the X's and O's. So all I want to know is, will we be better on the power play? Question of the year.
Well, I hope so. I guess they should be. I really guess they should be. With the addition of Danny DeKeyser, who's going to play the point on the power play, Philip Hronek, they have, John Merrill, who used to play it, I know, at the University of Michigan at college. I really think that that it should be better. I think the Red Wings are a better team. I think they have better veteran presence and guys that know how to play the game. So, I think the top line, if Michael Rasmussen makes a club, I think his net front presence, we saw it in the third scrimmage game. He has a great long reach. He's an immovable body. He's 6'6". I think that he will help. Anthony Mantha, Zadina, their shots. I do think that the Red Wings power play will be improved this season. I expect the entire team, however, to be improved. And I think that, are they going to be great? They still have a ways to go. Let's be honest with that. Yet, I do think they're going to be improved. And if they are going to be improved, it's not only going to be the power play, but also the penalty kill are going to have to be better. I think they've added some pieces in the offseason to make that happen.
Yeah, hopefully we can stay out of the penalty box to avoid that penalty kill. But what about you, Ken? What do you think? Will we be better on the power play?
I was looking at last year's power play units. The top unit was pretty good, but they did have some problems at times getting into the offensive zone and getting set up. And that's going to have to change if the power play is going to get better. The second power play unit that the Red Wings had out there, the guys they put out there had a total of, I think, 9 or 10 goals amongst all the people out there on the power play. That's not going to cut it. Now, with that said, there was a lack of depth offensively last year. There were injuries and guys that were not with the team. Guys like Perlini was out there on the power play. And I just think this year it's got to be better. The Red Wings were at 14.8%, I believe, on the power play last year. it's got to get better with the acquisitions that we talked about. Guys like Ryan and Nemesnikov, Fabry's going to be good on the power play. Then you've got the top line too. And then you've got the Kaiser and Roenick playing the points on the power play on separate units probably. So the numbers just have to go up. And with that said, and I've been saying this all through the training camp shows, that if your power play goes up, if the Wings power play goes up from 14.8% to let's say 18 or 19%, they're going to win some games. And if they don't win those games, they're going to be close. And we talked about overtime. They may be able to steal some points in overtime as well. And I agree with Art too. The penalty killers, they have to be better this year, no doubt about it. First and foremost, you have to stay out of the penalty box. And the Red Wings took a lot of penalties in their defensive zone. And we've said this throughout training camp too. When you're getting pressured and you can't get the puck out of your own zone, now you're chasing the other team and now you're taking penalties. So if the Red Wings defensemen can get to the puck under pressure, get it to the forwards and get out of their own zone, they're going to take a lot of less penalties. So Jeff Blashill told everybody yesterday, look, our defense has to get better. And where it needs to get better is the penalty kill. Don't take the minor penalties, easier said than done, but play better in your defensive zone and good things will happen.
Right. I mean, one good thing we look at last season is not, and this is a little bit of a pessimism, optimism kind of all in one, but one good thing we can look at about last year is, the only way to go is up from there. But, when you think about the Red Wings and them playing a little bit spastic, they're kind of desperate, and when they get to those positions where they're just trying to score a goal or trying to defend, that's when they end up in the penalty box. So that's a good way to look at it, Ken. I love that. And last but not least, question number 4 is for both of you. And again, we'll start with Art and go right to Ken. Greg from Toledo asks, we saw the team look much better in each of the scrimmages. How many games do you think it will take for them to get back into mid-season form?
I think it's going to take the first 4 games at home just to get used to it, and then they'll be getting in a flow. But this travel schedule is going to be a little bit different than they're used to. The Red Wings haven't made the playoffs in 4 years or whatever it is now, but it's going to be kind of like a playoff environment because they're going to be in cities more than one day. They're going to play a game, usually have a day off, play a game, and then fly to the next city. So I think getting acclimated to all that, I think even though they're probably in game shape and they're mentally pretty close to being there, I think because of this newfangled schedule in the way, I think it's going to take them about the first homestand and the first road trip. So I would say like 6 to 8 games. And I think by that, where they're just used to it and they're used to this new protocol that they have on the road where, Dylan Larkin, I mean, I loved what he said, the other day. It was like, well, I think I sit in my hotel room, go play the game, and then go back to my hotel room, So I think they're going to have to get used to that. And once they get used to that environment and what they can and cannot do, and what the protocol is, I think probably 6 games. I think the first homestand, they'll get used to that, and then the whatever they have to do at home, and then boom on the road. So I'll say 6 to 8 games.
Okay, 6 to 8 games. Ken, what about you?
Well, that seems like a pretty good number. I was going to say 4 to 5, but the Red Wings' first 4 games are at home, and then they have to go on the road, which is going to be a little bit different. So maybe it's going to take a little bit longer. The key is that every team is in the same boat. I don't think anybody's really going to have an advantage, and it's kind of like a feeling out process. And I guess what I'm more concerned about with the Red Wings is that with the guys that weren't on the team last year, and now they're here this year, especially on the blue line core, guys like Stetcher and Mark Stahl, guys like that didn't play with the team last year. How quickly can they get into the coaching style that Jeff Blashill wants them to play, the structure and the system and everything else? Because it is a little bit different. But I think the Red Wings really practiced well over the last 2 weeks. I think they really worked hard, as Art mentioned, and they gave it everything they had. So I think the team that can get off to a quick start, understand their structure and their system of play, does have an advantage over other teams. Now, the Red Wings practiced 2 or 3 more days because they didn't make the playoffs last season. I don't know how much that's going to help, if any. But with that said, I just think that it may take a while before everybody starts getting into the swing of things, so to speak, especially without playing preseason games. Preseason games, veterans don't enjoy playing in them anyway. But the young guys that are on the bubble or guys that are going to go to Grand Rapids, they enjoy that competition. But I will say this, once that puck drops on Thursday, it's game on. And, the teams that get off to a good start are really going to have an advantage. And you know what? I was really surprised when you look at the playoffs last year, Art and Carly. I thought it was going to take some time to get those guys going in the playoffs. And you know what? Right from the get-go, they were playing really good hockey. So maybe it won't make a difference at all. I hope that we're going to see some great hockey right from the puck drop in game one, and that'll continue on to the 56 games.
Hopefully, because when I look at the season, I mean, it's so condensed and packed that you blink, maybe you don't get started right out the gate and come out guns a-blazing. But if you don't, I mean, the season's over, So I feel like the guys.
Carly, every game's important. It's kind of like a football season when you only play 16 games. 56 games isn't a lot like you described. And you get behind the eight ball, it's going to be tough to catch up, especially in a division where you've got to win a majority of the games if you want to make the playoffs. So getting off to a good start is going to be key, I think, for any team, especially Detroit.
Yeah, it's a good and bad thing about this season, I guess. It's a good thing if you, you get those first few wins under your belt, but it's a really bad thing if you get on a losing streak because, like you're saying, it's a condensed season. You don't have X amount of games like 82 games in a regular season like you usually do.
No, they're all 4-point games. They're all, I mean, I would imagine, and I'm going to put a lot of pressure on two players right now, Thomas Greiss and Jonathan Bernier. I mean, they're going to have to, and they're capable of stealing and winning games, and they may have to do that as the Red Wings still kind of get acclimated to one another. It's one thing to play scrimmage games against your opponent, but it's a whole nother thing when you're playing for keeps, as they say. So that's if you look at it, I mean, they're playing Carolina and Columbus, two pretty good teams that were pretty impressive in the playoffs last year. And then they go to Chicago that's struggling a little bit. We don't really know what the Dallas situation is, who they play next. And then they come home, and then they play Florida, and then they hit Tampa Bay, and then Florida and Nashville. So it's a kind of a daunting schedule. Yet if goaltending can hold up, maybe steal a game or two, and then they find their way through the first 4 or 5. I like Kent's thing too. I was thinking originally 4 to 6 games, but then I'm looking at that whole road protocol. It might take them just a little bit longer to get used to that. But if the Red Wings can start off fast, who knows? We said this during our WOW shows during the Tiger season. Why not the Tigers? And the Tigers gave us a pretty good run there, through most of that season until injury really caught up to them. But hey, why not the Wings? I mean, they're capable of doing it. They have talent. They have talent. They have veteran leadership. They have good goaltending. I mean, they have a recipe where could they surprise? I know most people are saying, yeah, you're dreaming, but who knows? You get off out, 56-game schedule, as Kenny said, anything can happen. The sky's the limit.
Especially with the state of the world right now, 2020, 2021, anything goes, really. Anything can happen in this day and age right now.
Yeah, is that the truth?
Yeah, no kidding. One thing I want to touch on before we let Ken go is Ken and I will have a morning skate show presented by Little Caesars starting on Thursday. Excuse me, maybe I can do it before I talk. But make sure you tune in. It'll be 10:30, starting at 10:30. It'll be an hour and a half long show. Yours truly, the dynamic duo, back at it. Game day preview.
This is exactly what I'll be doing.
Yeah, you'll be drinking your coffee. I'll be freezing at the arena. Yeah. Oh my God. Just pass some of that coffee our way too. But yeah, Carly, I'm looking forward to working with you, and it should be a lot of fun, especially previewing the Red Wings, seeing who's on the ice, going over the injuries and what have you, and also taking a look at the other team that the Red Wings will be playing. And I look forward to Daniela's interviews with media throughout the morning skate shows too. So we're gonna have a lot of fun, and hopefully the fans will tune in and watch the stream for every home game.
That we will. If it's one thing Ken and I have, maybe Ken will bring the information as well. But one thing Ken and I can promise you is fun.
Exactly.
So again, make sure you're tuning into the Red Wings website to check that out. Art, you better be viewing every single one of them. I don't want you rolling out of bed at 11 and missing the first half of the show.
Oh no. Oh no. I mean, I beginning at 10 a.m. on game day, I am on the clock. I'm ready to go. And I'm just going to be looking at the little screen that says live stream about to begin. And I'm just going to sit there and just concentrate on it and have a cup of coffee. And then, bam, you two are going to come on and my day will be made. I cannot wait.
Yes, love it. Once again, you guys, the Morning Skate Show presented by Little Caesars with Ken Cal and Carly Johnston. Make sure you tune in. Ken, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure, Carly and Art. And just real quick, I just want to say, all my prayers go to Daniela and her family because of the loss of her grandmother. And hopefully she'll be back on the WOW show too. But you guys have fun today, all right?
Thank you so much, Ken.
We will. Thank you, Ken. I know Daniela appreciates that. It's unbelievable losing two grandparents in a matter of weeks, and I feel for her mother too. Losing a parent's never easy. I've lost both of mine. I know how tough that is, but within weeks of each other is really, really difficult. So, I just want to say what Ken just said too. Hey, Daniela, we're thinking of you. You might be a little rough around the edges, Daniela, but it's just that's a little bit of an inside joke, but I want to get a little smile out of her. But hey, hang in there. We're all thinking about you.
I echo that sentiment, and I know Daniela said she feels at peace right now that her grandparents are back together. We're sending you all the love, Daniela. Make sure you go send her yours as well. But that is it for the mailbag presented by Little Caesars. Thank you to Little Caesars for sponsoring the mailbag. Little Caesars proudly introduced their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. Make sure you don't go anywhere, though. We have tons of fun still planned for the rest of the show, including interviews with Max Bultman of The Athletic, Tigers broadcaster Matt Shepard, and Hockey Hall of Famer Larry Murphy. But for now, I caught up with Red Wings alumni and '08 Stanley Cup champion Dallas Drake just last week. It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. And today, I'm pleased to be joined by Detroit Red Wings alumni Dallas Drake. How's it going, Dallas?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Love to hear it. What have you been up to these days?
Well, unfortunately, not very much. Obviously, with the lockdown we've been under. So, I had a chance to spend some nice time with the family over the holidays a little bit, with my kids coming over from school, that is. And other than that, it's been pretty quiet, and it's been bunkered down in our house for the most part.
Yes, that's pretty much been the story of 2020, a little bit of 2021 here. Speaking of the pandemic, we've had a 9-month-long break from hockey, but now it's back. Well, Detroit Red Wings hockey, I should say. We saw the Stanley Cup playoffs and finals, but Detroit Red Wings hockey is back, and we're seeing these players in training camp now. But with a shortened camp and no preseason, can you imagine being in that position as a player who is trying to break the lineup with not much of like a jump start before the season starts?
Yeah, that's difficult, because obviously you're going to hit the ice running pretty quickly. I mean, especially with the shortened season. I've played in those shortened seasons when we had a lockout years back, and it's really hard because you don't have time for a slow start or anything like that. So, you're not going to have time to maybe look at some younger guys like maybe you want to, unless you're a team that's still in a heavy rebuild, trying to look at certain players. So it's going to be difficult. There's a few teams I'm sure that want to look at the young players. The Red Wings are probably one of those teams right now, and hopefully they have a lot of success in doing that. Speaking
of getting a look at those young guys, one thing we see with this different season that we have coming up here is the taxi squad. Do you think that gives a bit of an opportunity for those guys who are kind of on the cusp and on the brink of breaking the lineup?
I like that taxi squad stuff. I mean, you just have emergency access to a player that's right there, has been around your team quite a bit, understands what you're trying to do, rather than calling a kid up from, say, Grand Rapids and throwing him in a lineup when maybe he hasn't been around some of the players as much. So I like that. You can obviously have veteran guys there as well that you can pull into the lineup when you need them. So and it just gives them it's a little bit different advantage in a lot of different ways, especially for in today's era where there's going to be situations where teams are going to have to quarantine guys for whatever reason, and they're going to need immediate players that are ready to play and ready to contribute immediately.
Absolutely. And then looking at the condensed season itself, we see somewhat of like a baseball-like schedule, playing teams multiple times and cramming games in. I believe the Wings play 4 games in 6 days right out the gate, right when the season starts. Is that going to be a tough go for these guys, physically and mentally, especially after this long break that they've had?
Well, they can't say they're not rested, that's for sure, because they have had a lot of time off. But yeah, it will be hard. You know, I know players are young and they take care of their bodies differently than maybe we did back in the day. But it is very difficult playing 4 games in 6 days. That's hard. I mean, I remember playing back to back, and itself was very difficult. And when you're playing that many games in a short period of time, your body doesn't sometimes adapt to it, especially during a season like that. And it's going to be hard, but we'll see how they handle it.
Also on that, cramming some games in and having so many games and so many nights, will that play to kind of how bizarre this condensed season might look? I mean, it can be really anyone's season. Let's say the Red Wings win those 4 games in 6 nights. They could be coming out on top, you know? I mean, I guess it's really, truly anything can happen this season.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when you're looking at an 82-game schedule, people always say, you know, it's not a sprint marathon. We're looking at the exact opposite. It's a sprint. And you can't afford to get off to 5 or 6 games into the season. You're just kind of, you know, stumbling along. So there's going to be some surprises, most likely, with teams that maybe you didn't expect that was going to be in the hunt, especially near the end of the year. There's going to be teams like that. So I think it's really important that you get off to a quick start, get some games under your belt, get some confidence, because, you know, a confident team sometimes is going to win a lot of games that normally you might not win. So, yes, playing in that shortened season probably will help a lot of teams that, you know, are going to get into the playoffs that maybe in an 82-game schedule you might not expect to see them get there.
Well, fingers crossed that the Red Wings are one of those teams. Also, let's talk about the division realignment we're looking at. The Red Wings will be playing the old rival Blackhawks a lot more again, which will be fun. But do you also think the schedule will help form some new rivalries?
It always does. I mean, but it's nice to get back to those old rivalries. You know, you're playing the Blackhawks and plays like teams that you haven't played as much in the past few years. But yeah, when you're playing a team as much as they're going to play, their rivalries are just going to happen. But there'll be more different rivalries this year. It'll be fun.
For sure it will be. And looking at this team and the potential it has under the leadership of Steve Yzerman and seeing what he did in Tampa Bay, 2020 Stanley Cup champs, do you see playoffs in the near or distant future for this Red Wings team?
Well, I do like some of the moves they've made, some of the signings Stevie did over the summer. Obviously, their draft picks. I really like the Saturday kid to play. I had a chance to watch him play in Grand Rapids last year, and I think he's really good. So I think they're moving in the right direction. They probably need a few more pieces, and I'm sure they're working towards that. I think the best thing about Stevie's a pretty patient guy in a good way. I mean, he's patient, but he's not. He wants to win. He's competitive, but he knows what it's going to take to build a team that's going to win. And obviously, you just got to look at what Tampa Bay did a few months back, and they won because of what he's built over the past so many years he's been there. So I'm crossing my fingers. They're moving in the right direction. I think they are. They got some good young players there that are taking steps in the right direction with Larkin and players like that, and you build up guys like that. And I think moving forward, you just got to be patient. You just can't all of a sudden change your dynamic of what you want to do in a couple of months. You just have to keep building and doing what he's been doing the last year and a half, and things will go well.
Absolutely. I know Coach Blashill always says, trust the process, and it's true. It takes some time. Trust the process.
It does.
And speaking of the Stanley Cup, let's talk about the one you won in 2008 with the Wings. What was that moment like, and what was your favorite memory from that journey and that specific day of hoisting the cup?
Oh, there was a lot of things. My favorite memory, back then, my favorite memory now is actually just the time you are reflecting back on the time you spent that year with, you know, so many Hall of Fame players and an organization where all they wanted to do was win a Stanley Cup. And I didn't know much about that. I didn't know how to win a Stanley Cup. So, you know, getting put into a lineup with players like that all they wanted to do is win, and they were just selfless individuals, you know, Pav and Z and Nick, obviously, and Drapes. We had so many good players that just being around them every day, even though I was almost the oldest guy on the team at that point, I learned a lot. So, obviously, that last game, winning the Stanley Cup, and those last minute and a half when it was a close game is something I'll never forget. And hoisting the Stanley Cup over your head and having a chance to take it, you know, back home where I grew up. It's just things that you just never forget. I'll have those things with me for the rest of my life.
And that was the moment you hung up your skates. And I mean, that is a good way to go out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more than that. I mean, I was thinking about retiring the year before. Detroit, I was lucky enough they gave me an opportunity to play another year, and I couldn't turn up that opportunity because I did feel they had a good chance to win. It was pretty special.
Well, good thing that you didn't give it up the year before. And last but not least, do you have any words of wisdom for these guys heading into the season? I know you've been through all the ups and downs of being a professional athlete, especially in the NHL. So any words of the wise?
Oh, it's hard. It's a different generation now. The players are different. They're a little different than when I played them. It seems like so long ago. I guess my biggest words of wisdom for me, is enjoy it. It goes by fast, and enjoy being around your teammates and play for one another, because at the end of the day, teams are about winning. Individuals obviously carry teams in a lot of different directions, but playing on a good team with good people is something that you just can't be around enough. And when you get in situations like that, you're eventually going to win. You'll break through one way or the other, and just enjoy the process and cherish every minute of it, your chances of playing NHL, because you're truly blessed to play in that league.
Absolutely. And that is totally true. Like, that's pretty much the phrase going into this season. It goes by fast because it's going to be a condensed season. So really soak up every second of it. I know I will. Well, Dallas, thank you so much for joining me on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Daniela, back to you. Plot twist, back to me. It's time for all right. Now it's time for Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers and now the Detroit Red Wings, as announced today. Excuse me. All right, I'm going to bring you back. We're looking at your Red Wings media card. I'm plucking it from you.
Oh, my gosh.
If you get it wrong, I don't know, or maybe you might not be back on the show. But I'll save that.
Whoa. You know what I like about you, Carly? You always talk a good game. You are very confident. You pat yourself on the back. I mean, that's a very admirable trait. So fire away.
Thank you, Art. I appreciate that. All right, we'll get things started with question number 1. Nicholas Cromwell, which we just celebrated his birthday, I believe, yesterday. He scored his first NHL goal on January 14th, 2004. January 14th also happens to be the same day as the season opener this year on Thursday. Which team did Cromwell score that goal against? No multiple choice.
2004.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to say... I'm not going to say who you would think, like a Chicago or a Nashville or somebody like that. I'm going to say the LA Kings.
You literally said it. It's Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, well,
I guess I could have given you a hint and said it was an original 6 team. I don't know if that would have helped you or not.
No. You know why I said the LA Kings is that poor Nick, in the pregame skate, I think it was out in LA, caught a rut and tore up his knee before a game against the Kings. And I thought that was right around the same time that they had like a kind of a weird schedule, like a home and home series, believe it or not. So that's why I thought, man, January, I know that was around, I know it was wintertime. So that's why I took a shot in the dark and unfortunately was wrong.
I mean, you know what? Here, let's get into question number 2 so that you can try and redeem yourself. But I was wrong. Right. Cromwell's birthday is today. Hello. Also, whose birthday is it today? Marian Hossa. So we're going to ask a question about him. A big happy birthday to Croner and Hossa, but we want to know, Art. Hossa played for 5 different NHL organizations. Which team drafted him back in 1997?
Oh, boy. I am going to say the Atlanta Thrashers.
Art, I'm going to let you try again because that is not correct. I'm feeling extra nice today. So I'm going to let you try again. That's
okay, how about Ottawa?
Yes! It is Ottawa. Second time's a charm, I guess.
Well, I just wanted to say Atlanta Thrashers because I might be one of the only people in the world that own an Atlanta Thrashers jersey. I love I love their logo, which was a menacing looking thrasher, which I guess is a little tiny little bird, but they're menacing.
Those menacing thrashers.
That's right. The menacing thrashers.
I have a third question for you, Art. And I know your Red Wings trivia is like to the 10th power, and mine is not as good as yours, but I knew the answer to this question. So if you don't know the
pressure's
answer,
on.
This is the question I'm getting prepared. This is the question that I will revoke your Red Wings media card if you get this wrong, okay?
Okay, all right.
All right. Last but not least, third question. Sorry, you're like, you have half of a point. I guess I'll give you a half of a point. All right. Last but not least, the Red Wings opened Little Caesars Arena on October 5th, 2017. We were there for that. Who scored the first ever goal at Little Caesars Arena?
Okay, they played what? Was it the Minnesota Wild? Who scored the first goal at Little Caesars Arena? Gosh, it was like we were just there. I think it was the BT Express. I think it was Anthony Mantha.
You get to keep your media card. All right, you're right. It was the BT Express. That was a very, very good goal, too. I remember it. It was my first regular season game, Art. Can you believe that? October 5th, 2017. Young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Carly hosting her first Red Wings game at Little Caesars Arena. And Anthony Mantha scored that goal, yep.
Did you have butterflies? Did you have jitters? What was your mindset going into that first game?
I was profusely sweating. Like the areas I didn't even know you could sweat behind my knees. They were sweating.
You don't have to get too graphic about that. I mean,
no, it was very nerve-wracking, but it was so fun. And now I'm entering my 4th season with the Red Wings. Isn't that insane? What season is this for you, Art?
Well, geez. I mean, I covered the team off and on since college, but I would really say when I really gravitated and started to cover them on a daily basis, let's see, it's probably like 36 years or so. Longer than you've been alive, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because when I got my first commercial radio job at WHMI out in Howell, the voice of Livingston County, by the way, 93.5. I was a disc jockey, which really is what I really wanted to be honest with you. I love sports, but I was also the sports director. So I took advantage of that to get passes to different events because I was sports director at WHMI. So I really started the teams that I liked, which were Michigan and the Red Wings. I started to cover them and be kind of, get my foot in the door because I could see that being a disc jockey, you weren't going to be able to be like the disc jockeys of old where you would break bands and get new songs and, you would be able to talk up to it or say, here's the Carly Johnson trio, they're from, it was changing. It was like no back cell, no front cell, no nothing, it was all going to be automated. It's what music radio has turned in today, which absolutely blows. But it took the personality out of music radio essentially. And so commercial terrestrial radio. So I knew I had to make a change. So I really got heavy into sports and, in the Red Wings, I can remember, the first time actually walking into the Red Wing room and seeing, a young Steve Yzerman or a Bob Probert. And, I'm sure they don't remember. But I certainly, oh no, I don't think so. It wasn't until Steve Yzerman told me I should be dressing better. Which I do remember, by the way. He did. He came up to me, and goes, Art,
you didn't listen to him? I'm just kidding.
No, I said, I go, I'm in radio. We in radio don't, another thing that he always asked me too was if I ever wore a shirt that wasn't given to me for free. because I used to have like all these logos and stuff on shirts that I would wear, which he was right, were usually given to me. And so I would just wear them. But anyway, yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time, but it's been a long time. It doesn't seem like that. It really doesn't. But I mean, in all honesty, Carly, you're sitting there going, wow, this is my 4th season. Does it really seem like 4 years?
No.
No, it doesn't. I mean, that's because I always believe we deal in a thing that's ever changing, waiver wires and sports and different games, different teams. The team is never the same from one year to the next. You deal with very young athletes, and it keeps you young. I mean, it's a great profession to be in. And I think that's why when you go into a press box for the first time, you see multiple generations of people covering teams. You really, really do. And it's just because first of all, it beats working for a living, as I've always said. And secondly, it's just a great profession to have. It's just a lot of fun. And I completely enjoy it. I love interacting with, with the veteran guys and the young guys. And I like watching, like a Philip Zadina or Michael Rasmussen, grow into adulthood and become, professional hockey players, much like Big Tony. I mean, Anthony Mantha, I can remember where Blash sat him down for a couple of games in a row, and I can remember talking to him about it, and he was just, he's a little bit stunned, but it was probably the best thing that ever happened to him because that was the beginning of the development of the Big Tony Express, which we know is Anthony Mantha. And, but it took, you see all of it. You see the trials and the tribulations of these guys, and that's why, truthfully, I'm really, really happy for Mantha. I mean, look at him. He's a beast. You can't get him off his skates. When he fights for the puck, when he's engaged and determined, he's one of the best forwards in this league. I truly believe that. And there's the goal. There is the BT Express. That's the goal right there against Dallas. That 4-goal game. I think that was the 3rd goal where he gets the puck at the blue line. He was not to be denied, and he goes in, and he just, I don't know if it was Ben Bishop or whoever was in net for the Stars, but it was like, oh my God, I've got this.
We feel bad.
I got this 6'5", 235-pound, guy who has that look in his eye, and but that's what's so great about all of this and this whole profession. So so I mean, I've seen a lot of great players in all sports, really, in all sports. I've been privileged to go to everything. Super Bowls, NBA Final, Stanley Cup Final, World Series. That the only thing I haven't done in my career, which I would like to do before it's all said and done. I don't know how it's going to be unless the Red Wings send me to the Olympics when we have so many Olympians on all these teams. I'd like to cover an Olympics. I still would like to cover an Olympics. But aside from that, I think that, when it's time to hang up the skate blades, I can say that, I've had a wonderful, wonderful time doing this. It's been a great job, great experience.
Well, fingers crossed on that. And it is amazing to see how passionate you still are and how much you know about the Red Wings after 37 years. So I don't know how we got on this tangent about you, Art, but give yourself a pat on the back, even though you only got like 1.5 points in that trivia. But that's it.
Ottawa's only covers a half, huh?
Yeah, you only get 1.5.
I should bring out my Thrashers jersey. It's right behind that globe in the closet over there.
That was pretty rough, but we're going to move on from that. All right, thank you to PointsBet Sportsbook for sponsoring Bet You Didn't Know. PointsBet is an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers and now Red Wings. Download the app and follow PointsBet USA on social media for more information. Still a lot more to look forward to on this stream. Art will be joined by Hockey Hall of Famer Larry Murphy, and we will talk to Max Bultman of The Athletic. But for now, let's catch up with Tigers broadcaster Matt Shepard, who Art and Daniela spoke to last week.
It's time for Brush Street Beat, presented by our friends at McLaren Healthcare. And today's guest is your Tigers TV play-by-play announcer, Matt Shepard. Matt, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And your first question is, how was your holiday season? Did you get to enjoy some time with the family?
Yes, I did. I'm glad that we kind of turned the page a little bit, ready for some high school football state championships, ready for Red Wings hockey, ready to celebrate more of the United States Junior World Championships, and really hoping and praying that spring trainees spring training down in Florida is on time and we get a chance to get down there and kind of talk with AJ Hinch, his staff, and see how this team's going to look for 2021.
Hey, we're with you, Shep. We were just talking about that on Tuesday's show about how spring training is really just a little over at the end of February. It's not that far away. Red Wings camp just started, so this year's already off to a whirlwind start. And if spring training, does start on time in February, we will see at least 2 new faces there. We've got right-handed pitcher Jose Urena, and then just yesterday, the Tigers signed outfielder Robbie Grossman as well. So what do you think about those 2 signings for the Tigers, and what do you think those additions will do coming next season?
Danielle, you, Art, and I have talked about this before. We were looking at the off-season needs for the Tigers, and I think I told you at the time, I thought priority number 1 was at least 1 starting pitcher, if not 2. I think getting Urena on a 1-year deal for that type of price, knowing what he can deliver, the type of arm that he has as long as he's healthy, I think it's a really smart move on the part of Al Avila and company. And I love the Robbie Grossman pickup. I really do. I mean, I like this similar to what I liked with CJ Cronin, Jonathan Scope, and Austin Romine a year ago. He is a professional player. He's going to give you everything he's got every single day. He's a switch hitter, but you'll see him hit left-handed more often than right. He can stabilize left field a little bit, and this is a team that has struggled mightily. We all know this about getting on base. Think about the number of strikeouts this team had, not just last year, but the year before. The year before, they led the major leagues in strikeouts, and I believe they were second to last in walks, and they were also last in on-base percentage. Robbie Grossman fills that void. It depends on the numbers you look at. If you're going to get caught up in batting average, he's not going to be the guy that you absolutely love. But if you want someone who can get on base, Robbie Grossman is that guy, and he doesn't strike out that much. Think of this. Only Miguel Cabrera for the Tigers walked more than Robbie Grossman if you looked at the Tigers lineup and Grossman. And there were 7 guys who had as many, if not more, strikeouts in the Tigers lineup every day than Grossman. Only Candelario and Willie Castro had a better on-base percentage, and Castro played fewer games. So those are all really positive signs. Could he do it over a 162-game slate? Not so sure, but we do know that his numbers from 2 years ago in a full season were really good offensively for Oakland. And he's a pretty good glove in left field, too. He's a Gold Glove candidate a year ago. So I think it was a really smart signing on the part of the Tigers. Let's see where they go from here.
Matt, before I ask you, I have an actual question that was asked to me on Tuesday's WOW show, but I think we're all hopeful about spring training. We haven't really heard anything from Major League Baseball. In your mind, is that a good or bad sign that we're going to hopefully start on time?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't think it's a good sign. I'm not going to sit here and panic and say it's a bad sign, but I would have liked more communication on the part of Major League Baseball. I would have liked to have heard more news from them talking with the players and making sure we as baseball fans can plan what we're going to have coming up in spring training and then for the summer too. The last thing, this league, sports in general, our country in general needs is another delay. And it sure doesn't need to be over money. Now, it's not my money. You know that. But this is something that I think the country really needs, and I think it's something that baseball has to have. If you're not going to have it on time, then it can't be delayed too much in order for people to start lining their pockets. I think it's really important that baseball get back to work and people can exhale a little bit and understand, what baseball means to this nation and the various cities that host baseball teams. I thought what baseball did, and I gave baseball and the Tigers specifically a ton of credit for being able to do what they did and do it so well and not miss much of a beat, save Miami and St. Louis to a certain extent. So I give them a ton of credit, but they need to go a little bit further here. I would have hoped that Rob Manfred and Tony Clark have talked by now to try and hammer something out that'll make us all breathe a sigh of a little relief.
Well, hopefully that'll happen very soon. And man, I wanted to ask you this question. Sorry, Danielle, I did not mean to cut you off there. I really didn't. But I had a question on Tuesday's WOW show about catching. And we had Al Avila on our December 22nd, our holiday extravaganza show. I don't know how you missed that, Matt, but You'll be on next year for sure.
I'd rather hear from Alavila too, Art. Trust me.
but with that said, someone asked me about catching, and I asked Al about different positions. He talked about pitching, infield, outfield, and he said, and maybe a catcher. Are we going to see perhaps a Grayson Griner, and are they going to hand it over to Jake Rogers and say, maybe it's baptism under fire? You're our guy. We know you can handle it defensively, but we're not so. Let's see what you do have offensively.
I think a lot of that depends on maybe what else they put out there, Art. I really do. So if you're looking at Grossman in left, you're looking at Jacoby Jones in center, and you've got Victor Reyes or Daz Cameron in right just to start our conversation. And then you're looking at Jamer Candelario at third and Willie Castro at shortstop. There's, Nico Goodrum and Harold Castro sharing some duties maybe at second. Who knows? What you're going to do at first base still remains to be seen. Isaac Paredes was the MVP of the Mexican League. How do you not have him part of that if he has a good spring training? If you have enough bats in your lineup that you feel can get on base, strike out less, create some runs, play to the A.J. Hinch style of baseball, then I could see them going with maybe a Grayson Griner and a Jake Rogers, depending on how they do in spring training. In the meantime, there has not been a vast rush for catchers so far. James McCann has signed. I get that with the Mets. JT Realmuto, even though the Tigers aren't even close to being in that picture, where's that signing? Usually that's the domino to fall. There's guys like Jason Castro out there. Austin Romine remains unsigned. Wilson Ramos remains unsigned. Alex Avila remains unsigned. I don't think you have to rush into that. I think in an ideal situation, you would like a veteran catcher in here that gives the Tigers a little bit of, some confidence behind the plate with a steady bat in that lineup. Let's see what happens. I hope that this is a team that continues to take the approach that it did not just last year, but also so far during this offseason, and just saying, you know what, we're going to have to play wait and see. It's tough to be patient, but it's the smart thing to do right now.
Shep, as you were going through the Tigers' projected lineup there, we'll call it, you mentioned Isaac Paredes and his title in the Mexican League over the winter ball here. And it's very interesting. I think he's a really interesting player because I think we all like what he did in that short season last year in his time with the Tigers. Where do you see him eventually fitting into this lineup? Even if it's not next season, where do you think the Tigers want him?
Yeah, it's the ideal question, Daniela, because is he, and I like him a lot too. The question is, where is he? Where does he play defensively? People liked his sharpness at the plate, right? In terms of recognizing pitches and not chasing. Probably needs to be a little bit more consistent hitting the ball overall, but you get my point. Is he better suited for third base or is he better suited for second base? And knowing all the well that at the time they brought him over, he was a shortstop. Not many people in the organization, I believe, feel like he's shortstop ready. Some believe he's better suited for second base, and maybe that's where they're contemplating him playing, because Jamer Candelario, I think, established himself early on as a very good third baseman for this team. Knowing how well he hit, that would be a massive plus for this team. If you had Isaac Paredes at second base and you rotated Nico Goodrum in there every once in a while, when Goodrum's playing a different position, you throw in Harold Castro, that's a definite possibility. There's no doubt that Isaac Paredes has a great deal of confidence and that bat is alive. I would like to see where he starts. It'll be very interesting. And that's a telltale sign right now. Do they go out and get a Jonathan Scope or a Tommy La Stella, somebody of that ilk, to play second base? If they do, then we've got a pretty good idea about Isaac Paredes. If they don't, then he goes into spring training probably fighting for an opportunity to play on a regular basis, maybe at second base.
Before it's all said and done, depending on how this upcoming baseball season plays out, there could be like 13, 14 starting pitchers because nobody reached any kind of innings pitched last year in a 60-game schedule. Am I jumping the gun, or should I just naturally assume that Skubal and Mize are definitely part of the Tigers starting rotation when you look at it?
I think there's a part of the I think there's a part of the Tigers, Art, that wants to see what they have in spring training. I would guess right now, if we're just putting pencil to paper, that they're in that starting rotation because, you and I have talked about this before. Sure, Matthew Boyd's can give you 180 plus innings. Spencer Turnbull, you think, despite last year, nobody went deep. He should be able to get you 150, 160 innings. Are you ready to go Michael Fulmer with that many? No. Urania, hopefully, okay. You're going to have the opportunity to start a lot of different guys. Now, here's where the Tigers' dilemma becomes a little bit more interesting. You do have Tyler Alexander and Daniel Norris who can help you out in that regard. But I would guess, as they continue to try and turn this page toward the future, you want Skubal and Mize in there because you've got Castro and you've got hopefully Paredes knocking on the door. You're trying to filter in some of those young guys. Now, I would tell you this, though, you guys. It's really important for this team to have a good defense behind it if you're going to put Skubal and Mize on the mound. We've talked about this before on your program. Nothing's worse than having a young pitcher on the mound, making the pitch he wanted to make, and then having a guy booted in the field and extend the inning. And suddenly you go from an 11-pitch inning to a 22-pitch inning. That affects you in the next and the following inning, and maybe even it starts down the road. I think it's really important they build this team properly defensively. And if we look at the outfield with Grossman and Jones specifically, and even if it were Daz Cameron, and I think Reyes has gotten better, I'm pretty comfortable with the outfield. We all talked about how Candelario improved at third base. Willie Castro's got to be a better defender at shortstop. Who do you have at second base? Still a question mark at first. And obviously, anybody who's catching them, we think Jake Rogers, many people think Jake Rogers is major league ready defensively now anyway. That would leave you a little bit more comfort at that position as well. But there's still a lot of question marks that need to be answered right now, I think.
A lot of question marks, Shep, but that makes spring training that much more exciting, right? Whenever it happens, we'll be ready. It'll be exciting.
It's a really good point, Danielle. And here's what this franchise has tried to do. They've tried to build up competition. You guys talk with Steve Eisman, right? You guys talk a lot of Red Wings. The competition is there, right? So are you bringing up Zadina? Are you bringing up Svechnikov to compete? Are guys like that ready to play on a top six line? The Tigers are no different. They're trying to create competition. The best players going to play. That's why it's good that you've got some of these young guys at least dipping their toe into the major league waters to see if they're ready or not. And I think Mize and Skubal are ready. And at some point in 2021, the three of us will rejoin, all right? We'll get together, and we're going to be talking about Matt Manning. And that's going to get us really excited, too.
It's very interesting and fun to see both of our teams in the Red Wings and the Tigers in similar situations and watching them build from what they have right now and watching their young guys come up and get their big league time. It is really cool. I like that they're both on the same page. But that being said, we only have until puck drop now. So we'll see the Red Wings really soon, and hopefully we see the Tigers soon as well. Shep, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's always great chatting with you.
Happy New Year to both of you. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Happy New Year, Shep. We'll definitely be talking soon. And of course, a big thank you to McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on the Word on Woodward.
Love it. It's very cool to hear from Matt Shepard, especially about the Tigers, since we've all been really digging into the Red Wings as the season opener is starting on Thursday. But we're going to bring back Art for Downtown Hockeytown. Art, we're going to talk about all the transactions going on. We know those 10 players were waived and they all cleared waivers, which means they are staying in the Red Wings organization, which is very exciting. Like I said, I love Evgeny Svechnikov, so I'm so happy he'll be sticking around. Maybe we could do Coffee with Carly Part 2. Remember when we did that? He was my first player to have on Coffee with Carly to kick things off. But anyway, and now I'm just totally talking about my own shows. Art.
I like to hear it. You do a good job. I'm trying to adjust my screen a little bit here.
Hey, I usually let you plug your shows. Now I'm going to plug Coffee with Carly. Anyway, let's start talking about some of the waiver wires we've been watching. Did you expect any surprises with the waivers? Were you thinking that Svech would get picked up by someone?
Well, I thought if anybody was going to go, that it was going to be Svechnikov for sure. That didn't happen. I mean, I guess I'm pleased with that. He is a former number one pick. He really hasn't gotten his fair due as far as the injury bug. So I still think that there's a lot of questions of whether or not he can play in this league. And if he can play in this league, I'd like to see him play for the Red Wings. I guess I'm a little bit surprised that Carolina or maybe even Edmonton, because Tyler Rice, their director of scouting now for the Edmonton Oilers, that he wouldn't maybe take a little bit of a flyer on him. But Carolina did take Forsberg from, I believe, Nashville. So I wasn't too surprised about that. I thought that, Svech's brother, I thought Andre would want his brother maybe to play for them. They're very close. They're very tight. But that didn't turn out. So I wasn't surprised that the other Red Wing players that were exposed to the waiver wire were not taken by another club. If you really look at it, those are guys that have performed well here in the Detroit organization for the most part, but they perform very well in Grand Rapids. They're Grand Rapids Griffins, and the Griffins are one of the top teams in the AHL year in and year out. So I guess I wasn't surprised about that. I was a little bit surprised that Svechnikov did not go, but then again, because of his history of injury, and he was also hurt, but he did come back to practice. I mean, they couldn't have exposed him to the waiver wire if he wasn't practicing yesterday. If he was injured, you can't expose him to waivers. You can't put him on waivers. So they put him on waivers. There was a risk involved, but it didn't happen. I think that's a good move because, Jeff Blashill reiterated it yesterday, and Steve Yzerman has also said the same thing, that, look, our roster on January 14th could be totally different by the end of January. That this is a fluid situation. If you don't make the team coming out of camp, shall we say, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be at this roster some point in the season. I think we're all, and it's a personal thing, I think because of everything that he's endured, I think we want to see Svechnikov get a shot in Detroit. So, whether he's on the taxi squad, which I'm assuming if he's healthy, and, again, I think he is healthy, I would think that he would, without question, maybe be on the taxi squad, or if they want him to play. Again, real quickly, I think this is what's going to happen with the taxi squad. I think you're going to see a bunch of young Red Wing players that if they don't make the 23-man roster, and again, I don't know what the roster is going to look like at this afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, whenever the Red Wings have to sign in. But I would say, let's just say for sake of argument here, that Rasmussen, Giovanni Smith, Svechnikov, guys like that, Gus Lindstrom, I would expect that the Red Wings are going to put a bunch of young guys on that taxi squad. But then when Grand Rapids season starts right around February 5th, I think you're going to see a lot of interchanging and play go on, where if they want those guys to play, they'll send them down to Grand Rapids for a couple of games or whatever, let them play down there, and then maybe bring them back to the taxi squad. So I think that's going to be very, very fluid. They'll have a third goalie on that taxi squad. That's not going to change, I don't think, unless he needs to go down to Grand Rapids and play a little bit. But I think that as of right now, the Red Wings taxi squad, which can be 4 to 6 players, is going to be very young to begin with. And then once Grand Rapids, the AHL, starts their season, then they might do some maneuvering there. But overall, to really get back to the crux of your question there, Carly, I wasn't surprised that out of the 10 players that the Red Wings put on waivers yesterday, that 9 of them went unclaimed. I was a bit surprised that Svechnikov wasn't taken, but I really believe that only Edmonton or Carolina would have taken him because of his history with Tyler Wright and Ken Holland. They drafted him here in Detroit, and then obviously with his brother being a superstar, truly, down in Carolina. And Carolina claimed somebody. They claimed a forward, so they were definitely looking at it. But I think maybe why everybody was hesitant was because of Gino's history with injury. So maybe they were a little bit hesitant there, which could benefit Detroit. I certainly hope it does.
Right. Well, and we look at his training camp when he got injured. I believe it was his arm. I don't know exactly what happened, but I mean, when that happened, I was just like, this poor kid. Like, let him catch a break. I want to see him have that breakout year in the NHL. So fingers crossed, it still could be this year for the Red Wings. So I'm happy that we'll still be seeing him in this organization. And I do have a quick question that I feel like I should know the answer to, but I don't. Will we get the taxi squad with the 23-man roster today?
Yes. Okay. From the way that I understand that, and the questions that you've had, I've been asking, and unfortunately, there just seems to be a lot of uncertainty right now. But right. I am under the assumption that when the 23-man roster is revealed today, that it will also include the taxi squad, which can be 4 to 6 players. So, I'm kind of interested to see the taxi squad, just how. Because I want to see what Steve's thinking is. I want to see what conclusions that he came to, along with his staff, obviously, including Jeff Blashill and, Pat Verbeek and Chris Draper and Ryan Martin, all those guys kind of, although Draper's probably scouting, but, see what, what they've come up with, how they're going to use that taxi squad, what their thinking is behind that, and then the 23-man roster. Also, we're going to find out then, Darren Helm's status and Adam Ernie and, of course, Bobby Ryan, who, we all want to, see in the red and white yesterday. So we'll get a better idea of exactly what the Red Wings are thinking and where they're going to go, at least to start this season. So it should be fun. This afternoon is going to be fun.
That it will be. It's going to be that much more excited. This is the excitement is taking a second seat to opening day, but I am really excited for that roster to come out. I have a feeling I know what this roster is going to look like. I'm more excited, I guess, for the taxi squad to see who they'll choose. But when we're looking at the roster, the 23-man roster, do you think there will be any surprises, or are you fairly certain we're going to see what we saw in camp?
Well, I think if there's some surprises, I think that Bromé making the team is a bit of a surprise.
Really?
But I think it's only a bit of a surprise from the standpoint is because the moves the Red Wings made in this prolonged offseason, Bromé, or as people in Sweden keep telling me, Bromia, but Bromé. Yeah. So anyway, the reason Bromia is because he was signed so early. He was signed in May. And they could only sign him for a year because of his age at 26. I mean, if he's working out, trust me, I think the Red Wings are going to sign him. They're going to try to get an extension for him. I don't know exactly how that works. If you have to let him just play a year and then you can deal with him, or during the course of this season, if he's playing very, very well and he continues to do what he was doing in training camp. I don't know if Steve will renegotiate a deal with him or not. But I think Bromé is a bit of a surprise to make it. I think people thought that he might be on the taxi squad, but you have to clear waivers in the taxi squad, and they signed him, and he was kind of a hot commodity as an unrestricted free agent coming out of Europe, and he chose with Detroit. So maybe I shouldn't be that surprised. Maybe he was going to make the taxi squad, make the roster just because they didn't want to expose him to the waiver wire. So maybe that's what happened. And then, I think Gus Lindstrom's made the team. I guess I shouldn't be surprised by that, but he wasn't even playing in the Swedish Hockey League, the SHL. He was playing in that Allsvenskan, I believe is how they pronounce it. So he was one division lower. But Gus Lindstrom, I have to give him a lot of credit. When he has to perform, when he has to produce, last year here in Detroit and at training camp, he has. He's steady. He's calm out there. I know he's trying to add some offense to his game. I know he wants to get some offensive numbers up. I think, if Rass doesn't make it, but I think, again, and I think we saw it, and granted, Bobby Ryan wasn't there, and Helm hasn't played, and Adam Ernie, they were all out because they were unfit to practice. But we saw Michael Rasmussen's skill set on that power play where he stood in front of Bernier. He got the puck, he shot it, got his own rebound, and put it in. I know that, that's tough, and, and he's huge. So I think that skill set alone, even though and Blash said he put him on the wing, although they see him as being a center. I think that Rasmussen's skill set, especially for a power play, and we talked about it earlier with Kenny Cal, power play and a penalty kill that really struggled last year. But if Ras can come in and until everybody else gets healthy, and then I don't know, maybe taxi squad, maybe he does enough to stay on the roster. But you put him on the power play, he's going to get some points. So, but I guess I'm not really surprised. I mean, if you really look at it based on what Steve did in the offseason, you could almost pick the 23-man roster. You could see,
kind of how I feel. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So you kind of knew it. And then, then guys were fighting for these last few positions. And then the taxi squad, as we said, adds another dynamic, which we're both eager to see how that plays out. But, maybe Bromi, Lindstrom, Ras. I'm not that surprised about Michael Rasmussen making it, but, and of course, I don't know if he's made it yet. I'm just assuming. But
no insider information.
If you had to ask me if you're surprised about something, I guess it would be those players involved. Maybe Gus Lindstrom would be the real surprise, considering the additions that they made to the blue line. But but he's come out. He's played very, very well. I mean, he and Biega might be those guys that are being inserted in and out of the lineup. And obviously there's going to be injury involved in heaven forbid, but probably going to happen. Some sort of COVID, protocol is going to, the Red Wings are going to have to deal with this year too.
Hopefully not, but I agree and disagree with you. I disagree with Bromia. I do think that he deserves a spot on the roster, but I agree with Lindstrom that that'll be a toss-up just because, I think he's a good player, but last year I do think he was kind of thrown into it a little bit, not with too much veteran leadership on the blue line. As we know, there wasn't much depth on the blue line last season, but now with a lot of the additions and DK back, who knows what's going to happen, but we will see and we will monitor that.
Carly, I just want to say, he's earning a roster spot, Bromi. Yeah. He has, but and he should be on the roster. I just think that it's as far as a surprise because he was kind of the forgotten man. Although, I have been saying, don't sleep on Bromi. So I'm not surprised. We didn't even ask Ken Holland, pardon me, Ken Cal about, Bromi's big guns that Ken is obsessed with, he's a big guy. Again, the thing that I really like about him is that when I asked him about, his game in the small ice surface, acclimating to the small ice surface, he thinks his game is better suited for the small ice surface. And I think he's shown it. He's a physical player. He controls the puck. He has speed. He's a complete little hockey player. He's older than half the Red Wing team at 26. So, I think that could be a very, very pleasant surprise for the Red Wings this upcoming season.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm excited to see what's going to happen today. We'll be monitoring that for you guys. Make sure you are keeping up with the Detroit Red Wings social media platforms, and you'll find out as soon as we do. But that's it for Downtown Hockey Town, which is brought to you by Labatt Blue Light, refreshingly Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. All right. And now it is time for me to hand it back off to Art, where he caught up with Larry Murphy just earlier today. Art?
Thank you, Carly. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite, and our guest is NHL Hall of Fame defenseman, four-time Stanley Cup champion, former Detroit Red Wing, and a guy that I call Larry. No, it's Larry Murphy. You make that big build-up, Larry, like, all right, man, my best friend of all time. I can't get enough of this guy. And I just said Larry. That's because Murphy.
Hey, Art, I don't get tired of your introduction. Bring it on. I love it. Thanks a lot, brother.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, Larry. Well, the season's only a few days away. I know you're going to be back with Fox Sports Detroit. Obviously, a great analyst. I've always loved your TV work as well as your performance when on ice as a player. I know you were at the scrimmages and you've been down to the Belfour Training Center inside Little Caesars Arena. What's your initial impression, I guess, of the Red Wings thus far?
Well, I think it's as planned. Jeff Blashill really laid out a well-organized and intense training camp. And from what I saw and the level of compete in those scrimmages, I think he succeeded in what he wanted to achieve. Now, scrimmages don't replace games, of course. It would have been nice if they had some preseason games, especially for evaluating the young talent. But yeah, they worked hard and the intensity was there. They were able to work on a lot of different things. Power play, penalty kill during these scrimmages. They did some 3-on-3 overtime, shootout, pulling the goalie, playing with the empty net. So yeah, they got a lot done in a short period of time. But without playing any games, it's kind of, I'm waiting to see. Let's see where we're at.
You know, the last time they took the ice, I think it was like March 10th, I believe, against the Carolina Hurricanes, who they're going to face on Thursday night in the home opener. And I guess I'm like with you. I like what I've seen thus far. I think the team is going to be more competitive and better. But until you actually see them play a game, what do you think maybe the mindset of the players are going in? Are they eager? Are they a little bit apprehensive? Because for a majority of them, they haven't played hockey in almost a full solid 11 months.
Yeah, they're definitely aren't going to be chomping at the bit without a doubt. And I think just kind of backing up a bit and looking at a little evaluation, I was impressed with steps that players had taken. Zadina won, of course, was very, a lot of interest on him, a lot of focus on him, a pressure on him. They want him to be a second line player. And I think he showed well in those scrimmages. I thought his compete was real strong. He excellent with the puck. A lot of young players. This is the big thing that they usually have to improve in. And for Zadina, it was no different. Was, of course, obviously producing results, scoring goals and assists, but also playing with the puck. I thought he did a real good job in camp, making sure that he was productive with it. He made sure that he passed the puck. And if there was no play there, he'd get the puck in deep in the zone. He didn't turn it over like he did when he first got into the National Hockey League. So really excited about that. And add to his compete was real strong. A lot of turnovers, result of his hard work, stealing pucks off the opposition. So, I mean, that's, we come out of that with, feeling optimistic about his chances. But to your question, Art, I think the guys are very determined. They realize with the 56 game schedule, they've got to try to get out of the gate quick and string some wins together early because they're in tough, of course, in this division.
Well, I wanted to go back, and I know this is going to sound really corny, but, hey, we've all been 18, right? I thought I had all the answers. I was ready to take on the world and, all comers, and, I'm just going to go through like a hot knife goes through butter, whatever comes my way. But I think what we're seeing now is they're growing into men, right? I mean, I see Rasmussen, Lucas Rehmann, although it was virtual, I see them as 18-year-olds getting drafted into the league. They come here, they show the potential why they were drafted, but then slowly we see the progression of them into hockey players. Isn't that really what's happening to Zadina? He might not be the tallest guy in the world, but he certainly looks like he's beginning to grow into his adult body, if that makes sense, because his mind's already there.
Well, he's stronger, of course. I mean, that's when you're early 20s. If you late teens, early 20s is a time where you get stronger. You learn how to be a professional. That's something that guys come out of junior hockey or minor hockey. That's one thing they have to learn. It's easier said than done. But through example, through the leadership, guys like Dylan Larkin, they see their commitment. Well, he learns, and Zadina has learned that that's what it's going to take for him to be a bona fide National Hockey League player. And yeah, you see it in him. You see the way that he less delay, decisions are made a bit quicker. Plus he gets it. He knows how to position himself. He's not a big guy, but still and no matter who you are in this National Hockey League, you've got to be able to protect the puck. And he's developed in that area also. So yeah, Rasmussen, I think he's, I thought he had good jump in the camp. And then when they put him out there on the power play, because Bobby Ryan wasn't out for a couple of those scrimmages, he handled himself well in front of the net, knew exactly what he needed to do. So yeah, these guys are coming along. And Chalowski, I don't know if we're going to see him opening night. Chances are we won't. But I thought that he was assertive with the puck, and I thought his positioning defensively was strong and improved. He's not just looking at a guy like that. He learns that positioning for a defenseman. He's learned that his positioning needed to improve, and I think he's starting to do that. He's not going to run guys over. He's not a big guy, but if he's in the right spot and he's responsible, he can be a very effective defenseman.
Well, when we look at it, the first line obviously is the same. It's Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Mantha. And they really showed during the scrimmages why they're considered maybe not, obviously why they're the Red Wings top line, but they could evolve into one of the top lines in all of hockey.
Yeah, without a doubt, Art. They were definitely the class of the camp. Just control the play most of the time. And that's what we've come to expect from this line. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation this season. If the Wings are more competitive, which they should be, and I expect them to be, all of a sudden more notoriety will go to players on the team. And I think they took a great strides last year, that top line. And yeah, they were, Art, I saw it the same way you did. I thought that they were the class of the camp. Offensively, every time on the ice, you usually saw every shift a real good scoring chance, very responsible with the puck. They never gave it away. They always seemed to find somebody open, and if the play wasn't there, got the puck in deep. So yeah, I'm excited to see. Hopefully Mantha remains healthy this season. He's going to put up big numbers, and I think all three of them are going to be they're young guys. They're going to become even better players.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always tell the BT Express that I expect him to get 40 in a 56-game schedule, and he just thinks that might be impossible. He told me he doesn't think anybody is going to be able to get 40 just because of COVID protocol, and he has his own explanation, and but he is a premier goal scorer in this league. I think I know 2 years ago in that in the World Championship tournament. That he played for Team Canada, he was one of the leading goal scorers, one of the best players in that entire tournament. So, I mean, Anthony Mantha is a star in my mind, and I agree with you. He has to. He just stays healthy. Don't drop the gloves. He's going to try not to.
Yeah.
If he can play a full 56, that would be great. The second line, Robbie Fabre at center, Nemetsakov, who I believe has been a great addition, and then Zadina, who we've talked about. How crucial, how essential is it for the Red Wings to at least have probably two, if not two scoring lines, if not three? But that second line might be the key to the success of the Red Wings this season.
Yeah, that's coming out. That's going into camp. Actually, was the plan. Of course, Bobby Ryan's out of camp now. We'll find out, I'm sure, opening day what his status is, if he's going to return. I mean, Helm's been out so long from camp, I can't see a possibility of him returning, but Bobby Ryan, there's probably a greater chance that he does. So they're hoping that he would be Nemeshnikov did a great job. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they signed him, because this guy can play all 3-4 positions, and he's got skill. He can play offensively, and he's very responsible in his own zone. So yeah, look, Ryan goes down, they're able to put him in that spot, and he looked great. He held up well. Now, Robbie Fabre is I wouldn't call it a work in progress, but I still think it's in an evaluation stage. This season, or last season, he really showed himself to be a bona fide National Hockey League player. Now, see how he holds up in that number 2 role, centerman, behind Dylan Larkin. You're going to give him every opportunity. They have no reason to believe he's not going to succeed, but he's still waiting to see if he's going to solidify his position as a centerman in the National Hockey League. And of course, if him and Zadina, if there's good chemistry, we've seen it so far in this camp. I mean, if they're able to carry that chemistry into production, then boy, he could be well on his way of being the Wings' number 2 guy.
Well, let's hope so. Maybe the surprise forward of the camp has been free agent pickup, European free agent pickup that they signed back in May is Matthias Bromy. I think that he's made the team. And he looks like what I like about him, Larry, is he told me he thought that the smaller ice surface was more conducive to his game because he likes to go to the net. He skates well. He's big. Ken Cal's impressed with his big guns he has on his arms there. But Domi has definitely been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, his game translates very well into the North American rink. Another guy that really knows how to play in both ends of the rink. Great puck management. I mean, I kind of always go off on a tangent in terms of puck management, but guys that play in the National Hockey League are guys that do something with it, either make great passes, but they always find somebody to move it to. They always forward the puck down the zone. And back in the zone, responsible in terms of coverage. You saw that. He did a great job. The North American game boy, he fits right in. He knows his responsibility, covering the defense in his own zone. Real heads up type of guy. So showed skill. I mean, he's created some offense in that camp. So he's a guy that I think if you're trying to, peg a guy that, boy, he's somebody that kind of stepped up. He's 26 years old. They signed him for one season. I mean, he can really establish himself as an everyday player quickly, and he's earned an opportunity to see that on Thursday.
Well, I know we hardly have any time left, Larry, and we haven't even touched the defense, and we know that you're all about the defenseman, being a Hall of Fame defenseman. But I like the defensive core. I like all of them. I just think that they're better. If the Kaiser can hold up, that is going to be such a bonus for the Red Wings. But what I like about them is that they're able to get out of their own end. They're able to make that pass. It used to take the Red Wings eons to get out of their own end. However, the defensive core, you can tell that they're veteran players and they know what to do out there.
Yeah, it's spot on, Art. I mean, if a defenseman's able to make that first clean pass, there's a real good chance the puck's coming out of the zone. And I think that they've upgraded in that area definitely. And the Kaiser, he's, of course, hopefully he can remain healthy. I mean, he's coming on. He hasn't played in, I don't know how long. It's been over a year. But he's looked good in camp, and they're looking to use him on the power play. He's going to be that guy up top on the point. So if he succeeds at that, then it looks like Hronek, they're going to use him on the second unit. So that's adding depth in his own zone because he's a very responsible player. But also now adding more depth to the power play, which we know that needs, along with the PK, needs to improve immensely this season. So, yeah, adding the Kaiser, I mean, that's almost, you almost have the sense like he was a free agent that they just brought in. Obviously, he's been with the Wings for a while, but he's been gone so long that it feels great that they're able to add a guy like that to the roster. And, yeah, there's a lot of depth, and there's a lot of tough decisions on who the 6 guys are going to be that are going to play every night. There's going to be stiff competition out there.
Right, certainly. I mean, Nemeth is going to hold his own, as you know. Hronek is a budding star. Merrill, Stetcher, and Stahl do not look out of place at all for the Red Wings. Larry, unfortunately, we got to keep. I want to talk about goaltending because I think it's something interesting that Jeff Blashill said. I think Thomas Greiss has looked really good. Great rebound control, and Jonathan Bernier really came on from December of 2019 on and was one of the best goalies statistically in the league. But in a 56-game schedule, and the way we talked about this, and I find this really interesting, the Red Wings could have a definitive number one, and we're all thinking they're going to split time. That may not be the case.
I think he'll split time. If both goaltenders are going great, he'll continue to split. It's when the time comes where he feels that somebody has stepped forward as a defined number one, and it could be either guy. I mean, Bernier had a tremendous, he started off a little slow, but a tremendous finish to the season. I don't think people give him the credit of level of play. Boy, he saw a lot of great scoring chances against him last season, and boy, did he hold up and kept his composure and played real strong. So he's rolling off of that coming into this season. He's got to be very confident. And Greiss, as we saw in camp, no surprise to Steve Yzerman. He's the guy that went out and signed him. A real strong goaltender for the Islanders. Now, I expect early on we're going to see him go back and forth. If one guy, it's up for grabs. I don't think you can predict that one or the other are going to step forward as a number one, and that's great and that's healthy. You might need both guys. Of course, if they get down in the situation near the end of the season, if they're in a playoff position, well, then, of course, or fighting for a playoff position, they're going to probably go with one over the other. They're going to be forced to. I mean, it's a great situation to be in.
Right, and with the schedule, they're staying in cities longer, and they get a day off most of the time between games. A goaltender can probably rest up on that day off, and maybe if somebody does grab the brass ring, as we like to say, that the Red Wings could see one goaltender be their dominant number one, and the other one be what a great backup to have. I mean, either Grace or Bernier, whoever is in that role. Very, very quickly, Larry, I have to ask you, this is the one last question. People say, what is your measuring stick for the Red Wings in a very, very tough division? Where would you like to see improvement? And I said, if they can win one more game than 17 in a 56 game schedule, I'll be happy. Do you have any kind of plateau or what you would like to see from this team this year?
Well, that's a good way to put it, Art. I haven't really sat down and tried to put together an over-under number in terms of that point of success. Obviously, much better last season. I expect this team to be mathematically in the playoffs, go right to the end. They can't fall like last season. They were out of it so early. This year, I think they've got the capability of staying in the hunt right to the end. Now, I think you're really stretching if you say that this team's going to make the playoffs. But I think, Art, I don't know what the number is, but I think they need to be right in there mathematically, whether they're sitting 2 spots out, maybe 4 points away type of thing, 3 spots out, 6 points away, that sort of situation where every game right to the end means something for this team. That's what I expect from them.
Well, I agree with you. If they're playing meaningful games towards the end of the season, much like the Tigers did, if they can have a similar trajectory as the Tigers where injuries finally caught up with Detroit, the Tigers, that is, it would be a successful season. Larry Murphy, unfortunately, we have to go. Look forward to it. We're going to have you on again because I want to find out what you guys at Fox are going to be up to, how you're going to be telecasting these games.
Well, all right, let me jump in. I mean, we have the 1 hour pregame show, the kickoff for the season coming up on Thursday. So that's something we're excited about. I mean, can't wait to start talking hockey. I can't wait to start watching hockey.
Yeah, I am too. I'm right there with you, Larry. It's always a pleasure to have you on the Headliner. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Looking forward to your work with Fox Sports Detroit as always. So thanks for joining us on the Headliner today, Larry. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Art. And hey, I'm glad to be here.
At my age, Larry, I'm glad to be anywhere, I'll tell you. Thanks to Larry Murphy. That'll do it for the Headliner presented by Miller Lite. It is the original light beer. It tastes delicious. It's only 96 calories, and it's available for delivery. Carly, back to you.
Art, that was funny. That made me laugh out loud. Already. That was wonderful. Good to hear you catch up with Larry Murphy. But now it is time for Let's Socialize. This will be a good one. Art, we have a few questions here. We've been watching everyone's questions, and then we have a fun little tweet that I think you will really enjoy. So let's get into it. Are you ready?
I am set. I'm ready to go.
All right. Question number 1 we have from Social. How much are you anticipating Red Wings fans to travel for away games, especially with this division realignment? I mean, I've been to Chicago Blackhawks games with the Red Wings. I've traveled with them for the mom and dad trips, and it's really cool to see how many fans are at the Blackhawks games. So I don't know. I think they're going to travel far to go to some of these games, but there are no fans allowed in the stands yet. So I don't know. Maybe if they are you allowed to tailgate outside of the socially distanced, of course. Are you allowed to tailgate outside of the arenas? I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, there is anticipation that with a new administration, we might finally have a national COVID policy that maybe as a country we're going to follow. I don't know if that will impact travel or not. That might be something that we have to wait on. I'm certainly not trying to get political. It's just from what I've read that, things might be changing on a national scale for this country. But with all that said, isn't Florida wide open? I mean, I guess you could probably go down there and go to Tampa and Miami If you want to go down and wear a mask, don't wear a mask, do whatever in the hell you want, go to Florida, maybe even Texas. I think that all kidding aside, I don't know if fans are going to travel or not, based on what I guess individual state protocols are. That's why I did bring up this national policy. I don't know what you can and cannot do, but I think it'll be curious. From what I heard, that there's like 3 or 4 teams that are going to try, and I think Dallas is one of them. Even though they just they've had their issues with COVID-19, unfortunately, that they're going to try to have limited fans in the stands. I know recently we didn't talk about it, but they're going to have those 2 outdoor games in Lake Tahoe, which I would assume, back to back, one on a Friday, one on a Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. I can't exactly remember, but it's over a course of a weekend. That I would assume that you can have outdoor fans at that. So let's put it this way: if everything eases up and it's safe and people feel good about it, Red Wing fans always travel. I mean, look at the number of games that the Red Wings are going to be on national TV this year.
Right.
I mean, they're in a pretty good division. Don't get me wrong. So those are teams that people want to see. But Detroit is still one of the crown jewels of the NHL, especially when it comes to TV ratings. I mean, with someone like yourself, I mean, there is a huge generation of hockey fans, young hockey fans, that only know the Red Wings being good. My niece is among them. For her whole life, the Red Wings were like the standard bearer for Detroit professional sports. Well, guess what? Those people aren't going to abandon the team. They're looking forward now. Okay, we just got to, they're looking for the next generation of Red Wing, and they're looking, especially with Steve being in charge, what's he going to do? So I think, I don't think the fan base is just chomping at the bit to see the Red Wings on the ice. And if it's safe to travel, you bet they're going to travel. They are going to go to the ends of the earth to follow this team. As I said, I've always said, if you take the amount of champions, the Red Wings, as far as all the American franchises, Montreal's won 24 cups, although the late great Ted Lindsay had a real issue with that, which I won't get into, but they've won 24 cups. A lot of it has to do with Jack Adams. Not a fan. Ted, not a fan of Jack Adams. And then Toronto is second most. Yeah, right. And the Red Wings have won the 3rd most Stanley Cups. And as far as the original 6 American franchises, they're number 1 by a clear margin. But with that said, I mean, the Red Wings are without question, a team where you can go position by position. And, the best forward of all time. Does it get much better than Gordie Howe? Probably not. Best defenseman of all time. Does it get much better than Nick Lidstrom? I loved Bobby Orr, but, arguably, probably not. And then in net, Terry Sawchuk. I mean, those are immortals of the game. And their 11 cups, the Red Wings' 11 cups, are more than, the Tigers and Lions, and Pistons have won champions combined. I think the Tigers have won 4 World Series. The Pistons have won 3 championships, and the Lions are the Lions. So so the Red Wings, man, they're the class. They're the class of the Detroit sports scene as far as championships and immortals of the game. And the Tigers have had a lot of great players too. Trust me, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on anybody. I mean, Barry Sanders, one of the best running backs ever, maybe perhaps the best. And I mean, I'm going on about it. I know, but I'm just saying over and over again. Yes, no problem. Okay, I'll shut up.
I realized I had to reel you in when your answer, which was impeccable, by the way, and I love hearing you go on about the Red Wings. As I said earlier, 37 seasons with the Red Wings. You know everything. But then after a while, I realized I couldn't remember the question. I
have that tendency on people, Carly. It's like, what the hell is he talking about?
We do get carried away. But I'm not completely blaming you because I definitely feed into it with you. All right. But, oh my gosh, we only have 10 minutes left. Okay. So question 2 that we have, what is the team looking forward to most this 2021 season? And now I think they were asking about the Red Wings, but I'm going to make this about us selfishly. We as a team, what are we looking forward to the most in this 2021 season? I'll let you answer first.
Well, in all honesty, I'm looking forward to watching hockey, but working with our crew. WoW is still a relatively new show. We went through a Tiger season that was a little different. We're about to go through a Red Wings season that's going to be a little bit different. And I really am looking forward to the Red Wings season and how on WoW and how in general with all the new shows and the live streaming, we're so far ahead of everybody else in the NHL on this platform. And a lot of it has to do with my co-hosts, with Carly Johnson and Daniela Bruce, and then our crew. I mean, these guys are the best. They're all the best. Man, woman, even if we have, although we might be breaking some child labor laws, even if we have children working on this crew, I don't know. But everybody is outstanding. Everyone is outstanding. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to going down to the rink, even though some are social distance, but seeing like Bubble Boss Man, Andrew Kristoff, seeing Dan Manis and the great work that he does, Michael Spruitt, everybody. I mean, the guys that I see all the time, that we see all the time, getting back there, the beat writers, seeing Ansar, Helena, Ted, Max, all, hey, even though we can't go, because I'm kind of I like to get right in your face, I guess, but we can't do that anymore. Seeing Kenny down there doing those games. I mean, just the whole package. I'm just engaged in it. I'm into it. I love it. And I'm fascinated. I'm really fascinated to see what Steve Yzerman is going to do with this team. And that's why I'm really looking forward to seeing what the 23-man roster and what the taxi squad is going to look like. Now, granted, the AHL season is going to have a play in that. And also, COVID protocol and injuries will all go into that factor. But when that list comes out today, that 23-man roster and that taxi squad, I'm going to sit there and probably analyze it until the wee hours of the morning, trying to figure out what Steve's really thinking, what's Steve's next move. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And from a player perspective, I think that they're just chomping at the bit to play, right? They just want to play. They're players. And so I think that's, and that's a good recipe. Our desire to watch them, their desire to play, doesn't get much better than that.
It really doesn't. It's been a long, what has it been now? 9-10 months. So I'm excited to get back into the arena. I missed that. It was my second home. I felt like I lived there. And now I've been apart from it for so long. So I'm just excited. I echo everything you said.
Unless they go on those long road trips where I think one of them they're on there for 12 days, you're definitely going to be living at the arena. You will be living at the arena.
Yeah,
this is.
I'm just gonna maybe I'll order a cot or something. I definitely think we'll be there for many hours, but so blessed that we get to do that again. So really looking forward to that. And yes, again, everything you said, this is basically like a whole new team that we're looking at. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to gel and get through the ebbs and flows of this condensed odd season. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's anyone's season. And with that, I really want to go into question number 3 because we only have 6 minutes left. And Art, I know you're going to go off on this one. All right. Michigan hockey tweeted at the Detroit Red Wings. Did you name a captain yet? About 630,000 alums want to know. You know who played hockey at U of M? We haven't heard anything about captaincy yet, but I know Steve Yzerman told you directly that he will be naming a captain for the Detroit Red Wings before the season starts. And we only have 2 more days, 2.5. So, all right, what do you think about that tweet?
Did you notice the photo that Michigan posted along with their question was Dylan Larkin in number 19, wearing number 19. I wonder what the significance of that is. First of all, I didn't realize Dylan wore 19 at Michigan. Luke Glendenning was also captain at Michigan for 2 years and an alternate. Dylan was Big Ten Freshman of the Year. I think he should have been heavy consideration for the Hobie Baker that year too. But I want to say this. The Steve Yzerman interview that we did, that we've shown on some of our live streams, many people are asking me, is it going to be on WOW? Is it on WOW? Because we keep seeing the WOW graphics. Well, it was just scheduled to be on WOW. We didn't do a show last Thursday. So if you really want to see it in its entirety, and not because I'm doing it, trust me, but to see Steve and what he had to say and how freaking funny the guy was, you go to our YouTube channel. Go to the Red Wing YouTube channel if you want to see it in its entirety and you have it. That's the place to go. Again, I mean, Steve caught me in a good day because I was ready to joke around with him too. But that's where you can get it. Yeah, I would expect. Tomorrow. I mean, maybe he said that he was going to do it. He then jokingly said during the interview, "Whomever has the best training camp is going to." Yeah. Does that mean that Matthias Bromy is the captain of the Red Wings? No, just joking. Wouldn't it be hilarious? Boy, talk about Steve throwing a curveball. Yeah, I know we don't know him that well. We just signed him only for a year, but he's done enough to put on that C. That will never happen. Obviously, I think we're all thinking it's going to be Dylan, right? Probably Dylan with the C on. Luke's going to keep that A. Luke's a great leader. Oh, yeah. And then, Franz Nielsen, he's already worn the A. He's here. Do you give it to a guy like Mark Stahl? Perhaps even Bobby Ryan. I mean, there's a lot of good veterans, but, Dylan has said it himself. He goes, look, there's great leaders in this room, whether you're wearing a letter or not. And, the Red Wings do have a lot of really good guys, a lot of good leadership in there, but I would expect, and we don't know who it is. Steve wouldn't even whisper it to me. I am under the impression that let's put it this way. This is me, dialing in Sherlock Holmes here through deductive reasoning. Steve said that he's going to name a captain before the season starts. So if it isn't sometime today, and with the rosters coming out, probably not. Either they're going to do it tomorrow or they're going to do it Thursday.
We'll see. Well, maybe Ken and I will break down our morning skate show, but that's it for Let's Socialize, you guys. We only have about a minute and a half left of this show. So, all right, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure as always. And thank you to AAA. And AAA says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. Unfortunately, our show has come to an end, but we'll be back soon. If you missed anything in the show, you can catch up watching the interviews on the WOW YouTube channel or listen to the show as a podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Puck drop for the Red Wings, as we've been talking about all show long, is this Thursday at Little Caesars Arena as they play host to the Carolina Hurricanes. You can catch Ken Cal and I at 10:30 a.m. for the Morning Skate Show presented by Little Caesars Arena as we break down the upcoming game and maybe break the team's captaincy. We'll see. Only time will tell, but we'll talk about all this weekend's news and much more next week on The Word on Woodward, coming to you on Tuesday at noon on Detroit Tigers and DetroitRedWings.com, YouTube, and Facebook. Until then, everyone, stay safe and stay healthy, and let's go Red Wings!